Hello and welcome to this useful tutorial on connecting independent clauses. Okay, there are multiple ways to connect independent clauses beyond what is seen in this video, but this video will go over 3 useful strategies outlined directly by the woman Casey Clemens who taught me how to do this. I've not seen this anywhere else or shared online in any comprehensive way that uses such visual and shape-based connections that students kind of easily connect to more and make grading and editing this kind of material a lot easier, as well as learning to fix it and use it in your own writing. There is, of course, as I move to the end, I'll just sort of show there are easy ways to connect sentences beyond this. We could connect independent clauses using the technique of just writing them as individual sentences. Casey loves reading. Casey loves writing. Now, this is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with this other than that it sounds very simplistic, sometimes robotic, and it can get repetitive and very annoying to the reader. If you want to change up your writing style and you want to change up your voice so it sounds more organic and more realistic, we could use things such as combining the ideas. Casey loves reading and writing. Or we could say Casey loves reading as well as writing. Both of these also kind of work. They combine the information uh, into a different kind of sentence that we can use to just convey the information, but they don't always work for the purposes we need, and sometimes we need to switch up our writing style in order to convey information a little bit more effectively or in a different tone or format, whatever you want to do. But we need to mature our writing in a very direct way, and I will come back to the end right here to show us examples of the techniques we're going to learn today. So the first one we're going to start with is a comma and coordinating conjunction. The first one you saw, we call them C3s. They connect related independent clauses using a comma and coordinating conjunction. What's a coordinating conjunction? Well, it's these. You've heard about them. You've seen them in younger grades. You've seen them probably if you were back in school, if you're an instructor. They are your fanboys. The fanboys stand for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. That they appropriately go from for, which means in order to or for the purpose of, a, which means in addition to, nor, which means not one thing or the other. It is neither of a choice of two things, but which can be instead, as well as exceptions or surprise. Uh, Usually just showing difference from expectation. There's not a clear, exact, as far as I know, difference between but and yet, although yet expresses more surprise and difference, or shows an option between one or two or even more things, and shows the cause or like original source of something and can mean in order to. So what does that look like when we go practice this? If I can fix my formatting, is we can see how they are each used. Kyle wore his shoes, comma, for the ground was muddy. Billy wanted noodles, comma, and he wanted cake. Tim doesn't want to play, comma, nor does Tim want to listen. Nellie went to the store, but she didn't buy anything. He could pick blue, or he could pick red. She had won, yet she was sad. Her unicorn sat down, so the earth shook violently. These all work perfectly fine, and these are all independent clauses, which means on their own, Kyle wore his shoes could be a sentence. So could the ground was muddy. But if we wanted to combine them, and we want to combine them quickly, effectively, and show how they relate, we can use coordinating conjunctions and a comma in order to create that relation directly and clearly for our readers. Now, there is a complex way to do that that shows unique and specific perspectives on that. That is SCAC. SCAC uses a semicolon, a conjunctive adverb, and a comma in order to connect those things. Now, how does that work? Well, as you see, the S for semicolon, CA for conjunctive adverb, and C for comma, we use them all together in that exact same order, just like a C3. Josh went to the dance. However, he didn't have a great time. Maddie was sad, therefore, Maddie didn't want to go to school. Theodore was cooking breakfast. Meanwhile, Alvin was still in bed. Greg wanted to go to the concert, however, he didn't have any money. He spilled his drink. Consequently, he had to clean up his drink. Now, the conjunctive adverbs, I'm not going to claim absolute knowledge of them. There's a lot, and they are pretty versatile and have very specific meanings that are a bit more tight than those coordinating conjunctions. So you might go look up a list. An easy list is Googleable in any area. I've seen so many different and ones thrown in and used differently. Just be aware that some things you might hear traditionally are not conjunctive adverbs. Things like although. Using although in this manner is grammatically incorrect. So make sure to just double check yourself if you're ever going to go try and use one of these. But they're a great way to spice up your writing and sound a little bit more official, like with things with meanwhile. However, consequently, they are great for essay writing. Now, you might start to notice the shapes when it comes to this. The yellow triangle is what we use for a C3, so I'll fit it right over. You can use yellow highlighter or a colored pencil in order to denote those C3s. Alternatively, when we use SCACs, we use a simple green circle. Green map colors or a green highlighter circle are perfectly fine in order to help highlight those and show. The shape and the color, while it may seem silly at first, help them pop out to our eyes and give us a strong association for which one is which. Lastly, but most importantly, is the ever elusive semicolon, which in this technique is known as an S pattern. We just use a semicolon to connect like clauses that are independent. Kirk was flying the ship. He was the captain. We want to connect these things. Normally, we could have Kirk was flying the ship and Kirk was the captain, but we know how those things might relate. So we want to just make it one simple, fast, easy sentence that conveys all that emotion that we can just put in our heads. So Kirk was flying the ship, semicolon, he was the captain. The cat was lonely, semicolon, nobody was home. Hogarth loved the Iron Giant, semicolon, they were best friends. Of course, an S pattern, while connecting sentences, should be denoted with an orange rectangular square. Now, let's go try to use that on the sentences we started with. Let's see. Let's say Casey loves reading. Let's connect it with a C3, comma, and in addition to loving reading, she loves writing. Let's say Casey loves reading. Semicolon. Let's use a SCAC. Casey. Oh, no, my bad. Look at that. I can fix it up already. Uh, let's say that we want to show there's a relation between reading and writing that is directly there and has to be there. If she loves reading, she's got to love writing. So, Casey loves reading. Consequently, as a result of, she loves writing. This, as you can see, gives us a little bit more nuance, a little bit more meaning to what we're trying to say, and it fleshes out ideas that are a little bit harder to convey with multiple smaller sentences all in one. It increases the depth of our writing as well as the words that we use in our vocabulary. Uh, we can be a little more ominous in this same way and try and convey things that way by saying Casey loves reading. Semicolon. She loves writing. These don't fit as well together. This is an example of where a semicolon might not be as appropriate. Maybe if I wanted to convey more meaning and I wanted to keep it somewhat emotionally flowing, I might use something alternatively like Casey loves reading. She enjoys the feeling of escaping the world. Now, she enjoys the feeling of escaping the world might describe our sensation of reading or why she loves reading without adding as many sentences and still conveying the same idea that Casey does, in fact, love reading. They're giving us purpose and intent and direction. This is a better example of when a semicolon might be appropriate, as we want emotional conveyance without extending the words needlessly or informally or sometimes overly formally. We can get rid of this one. Now, exactly as we were talking about before, how do you mark these up? How do you express these? Well, let's do the one I just have connected to my computer first. The orange semicolon. We want to show that we know exactly where this goes, right over our semicolon from before, if I can get it to connect. You're going to watch me fight this till the end of this video here. Uh, oh, doesn't like me. Let me just make it bigger. We'll say it right there. Orange rectangle right over that guy right there. Let's move up to our handy dandy yellow triangle. We'll do our C3 next. Move back down here. C3 is this top one. You see the comma, you know exactly where to start. We see our coordinating conjunction, goes right there. Now our SCAC, the one that we kind of actually have to wrangle and connect. We're going to take this, we're going to move it down here, and we're going to make sure our circle fits. See how that consequently is a little too big? We can drag it out. Of course, you'd be doing this with your students on paper. They'd be actually highlighting it themselves, so they have a little bit, of an easier time rather than fighting the computer on it. But this shows exactly how these three strategies work out all together. It's more visual than anything I've ever seen anywhere, and just reading a written description, and it's more direct and shows what kind of things you can sub in. If you want to, you can go and do more research on things like coordinating adverbs and other kinds of sentence connections, and experiment around with the wording and the way your sentences sound in order to try and feel out which of these is best in the individual moments. Remember that you need more like phrases for an S pattern. You can show a lot more depth and nuance with a SCAC, and C3s are very simplistic but get the job done on connecting sentences. And they kind of move up in complexity of use, as well as when and where we would use them, with semicolon alone being the least common, SCAC being more common, and then conjunctive or coordinating conjunctions being more common than not in spoken language and writing. For any other questions, you can post in the comments. A link to this Google document as a shared copy or one that you can download yourself will be available in the description below. Have a great time, a great day, and enjoy the rest of your school year.